Everyone, in this video I'll be talking about how do you build a better productive relationship with a new boss, and the takeaways of this video will be guided by the book Surrounded by Bad Bosses and Lazy Employees that was written by Thomas Erikson. Now, if you are a person that wants to increase your chances of being understood and heard in the workplace, and you want to resolve conflicts more effectively, or generally you just want to work together with your team, your colleagues, your bosses, and your clients more effectively and efficiently, you should read the book Surrounded by Bad Bosses and Lazy Employees, because it talks about when people don't understand each other. That's when you have clashes of opinions, frustrations when it comes to getting each other understood and heard. And the plus side is if you understand each other, and that is by recognizing different work personality types and how to best to communicate with each other. That's when you get the best working outcomes out of working with different people with different working styles. So the book is based on the DIS model, which is a behavioral assessment tool that categorizes individuals into different primary colors: red, yellow, green, and blue. So basically it's saying that when you understand the colors more effectively and the work styles that goes behind that, that's when you get to tap into your strength of your working style, and you get to tap into other people's strength of their working style. And how that happens is that when you understand how people think, how people communicate, what are their working style preferences, what is the things that is their pet peeve, that's when you're able to structure your communication more effectively, where you have high chances of being heard and understood by different people with different working styles. So let's go into the red working style. So red working style basically prioritizes results. They prefer a very fast-paced, dynamic environment, and their communication style tends to be very direct and assertive. Which is also a bit of a double-edged sword, because sometimes they can be perceived as harsh, demanding, and insensitive. And that's partly because their main focus of everything is to focus on getting the outcome. And that might alienate some people who value a softer approach. And those that tend to have red color tend to be mostly managers, senior management, people that are leading teams, because they are tasked with bringing the result of the team. And if they're not able to get the results accomplished, then the pressure's on them. So, one way of how to deal with someone who is a red is to be in your communication with them, be straight to the point, be direct, of course, still be polite and be professional. And one thing, important thing, is that you should highlight how your ideas or solutions will lead them to tangible outcomes. The reason why I say this is because if someone is always, their primary focus is always about outcome, right? The moment you're able to tell them, like, hey, my idea or this suggestion, although you might not agree with it, will help you achieve your goal faster, or might help you achieve the goal in a more efficient way or productive way, chances are most likely they are more open to actually receiving the idea, as long as you can tie it down your idea or solution to outcome. Now, we move on to the yellow working style. So, yellow working style tends to be a more of a connector. They prioritize building relationships. They also prefer a very fast paced and dynamic environment. And their personality is that they're very enthusiastic, they're very optimistic, they're very persuasive by nature. However, sometimes they could be perceived as overly talkative, because by nature they love to just connect with people and network with people as well. So the flip side of it is that sometimes, because they are so focused on avoiding conflict with people and maintaining good ties with people, sometimes that could lead to perhaps not wanting to get into conflicts with people, and perhaps a lack of follow through. But this again is depending from person to person, I would say, for yellow. One ways of how you work with a yellow is to show genuine interest in their ideas and perspectives, because these are the type of people who are full of ideas, full of creativity, and they just generally love being with people. And also, as a result of that, with yellow, I think they tend to be much more adaptable. They love improvisation. So working with them kind of means that you should be also open to changes and plans and willing to adjust your approach. But from my personal point of view, that working with them sometimes is one of the best situation when you need them to come up with several ideas. They are the probably the fastest one to actually come up with ideas, creativity, and innovative things. It's just that whenever you work with them, then you have to realize that you should be also open to hearing all these ideas. And now we come to the blue. So blue working style people tend to prioritize accuracy and detail. and they prefer a structured and predictable environment. So by nature, they are more detail-oriented and analytical people. So you tend to see these blues actually working in certain industries. They're very detail-oriented. For example, say admin, analytics, analyzing stuff, providing overview in terms of analyzing things and also getting the hearts of detail. But the challenge as well, as much as this is a benefit for the blues, the challenge with blues is that they are sometimes perceived as overly critical, inflexible, and resistant to change. Because this nature of the blues is that if they value structured environments, then most of the time they will tend to be a little bit hesitant to change. So the blues tend to focus on accuracy and adherence to rules, so sometimes that also tends to stifle down your progress and stifle creativity. And I think the thing to do with blue working style people is that you should provide clear explanation and supporting evidence for ideas. Partly the reason why is because blues are the type of people that love data. They love to look at data and they realize that data is a supporting basis of their ideas, their proposals. And one thing about blues is that if you can listen carefully to their concerns and questions and address them very thoroughly, then they feel like they're being heard. And then that's when they're able to then decide that although we have very different working styles or even different ideas, but if they believe you're rational for an idea or rational or it's being backed by data, then they're more likely to take on your solution or idea as long as they feel like it helps achieve the goal. So now we move on to the green working style, and the green working style basically are people who prioritize harmony and avoid conflict. And with that said, they tend to prefer to maintain the status quo. They're very peaceful and cooperative people. However, on the flip side, they can be sometimes perceived as indecisive and overly sensitive. Because with this type of working style people, they tend to go for the group consensus and they want to feel that the group that they're working in, everybody has had a say, everybody has voiced their opinions or their feedback. And you do want to take people's feelings into consideration when decisions are being made. So sometimes that could be sometimes perceived as overly sensitive, but then again, with this group of working style, they are people who tend to be focused on the past sometimes and a bit suspicious of change. So I think based on the four colors you have seen just now, red and yellow tend to be very fast paced. They like excitement with change. Blue and green tend to be a little bit much more hesitant to embrace change so quickly. But I think the way around it sometimes with the green is that if you're able to get an idea, get the people involved, depending on what that idea solution is, and also depend like, do you need everybody to sign off on the idea, right? Let's say it's a big idea, if you're able to surface that to the group of people that work in the team and then get everybody to state maybe their feelings or ideas around it or just explain the situation to them and also let them have the avenue to have their feelings heard, whether through a feedback loop or whether through someone just saying very quickly what is the challenges they potentially see in this solution or problem, then I think that's when you get to get people involved in voicing out their feelings or voicing out their thoughts or concerns with the solution. So that also helps them to feel like they are generally considered in the decision making. So that goes back to the solution I propose here, which is involving them in certain decision-making processes and encouraging input means that you are able to get the best out of that group of greens. Saying that I feel like in maybe this, I feel like for me that decision making used to be for me primarily very solo based or very top down based. But getting to know the greens, I think it's about how do you identify when certain decision making needs to be made collectively and when are the times that you need to surface to the team and get their buy-in or their input. And and the input also means that do they spot something you don't, do they spot some challenges or some issues or some opportunities with a situation, or do can they propose more solutions that can help you to get to your goal faster. So by doing this method, I think it's where you foster a very positive and inclusive work environment where people feel valued and respected. And I think it's so important when you come across the four colors right now. The reds and yellows tend to thrive in very fast-paced environment, dynamic changing environment. The blues and the greens tend to thrive on more structured environment, but also it's not that to say that they can't move in fast-paced environment, but there are certain things that needs to be taken into consideration when dealing with the blues and greens. Blues, I think, tend to go for data and examples and also information and very tend to be very data-driven based people. Greens are more people who are want the other people's feelings and considerations to be also respected and valued. So In other words, if we can come to understand what our working style color is, most of all, and then we can come to try to understand what are other people's working style. And this can be taken from a quiz on Thomas Erikson's website, I believe, and also read his book because his book is really enlightening. And his book actually is able to dispel so many misconceptions of why, should people of the same color all purposely pick each other to work in the same team together. And his answer is actually no. It's not about surrounding ourselves with people with the exact same work style and exact same sub personality types as us, but it's about how do we harness the best out of each other. Because my feedback around it is that it's a race to the finishing line. So once you identify your working style and once you identify your bosses and your colleagues' working style, that's when the effort should be taken into finding ways to bridge a gap. Whether it's finding ways how you communicate your ideas more effectively, finding ways of how do you resolve conflict more effectively. Taking the time to actually build that working relationship with them means that it's important to sometimes realize that there might be differences no matter what. But as long as we are aligned on the goal, what the group goal is, and what our key performance metric is, and we generally go back to the no matter what problems we discuss, we go back to the idea that this solution or idea must address our problem and must be in line with our group goal. Then I think all of us, we try to do our best, and perhaps that would be more effective working style for all of us in that case.